Hello, everyone. My name is David Kali, and I'm the chair and co-founder of ECF.ai. ECF is an association that promotes the development of AI between China and Europe. I personally started working with AI 20 years ago when there was not so much hype around it, and it was more an obscure matter for researchers. At ECF, we believe that today, in a world that is more and more divided and isolated by the restriction of traveling that we must all endure, it's more and more important to continue to build bridges. China and Europe have thousands of years of history, of friendly relationship, and they are, after all, the East and the West of the same Eurasian continent. We believe that it will be mutually beneficial to cooperate more deeply through technological and scientific exchange for both sides. For this reason, WAIC and the European Online Forum are a great chance for us to give our modest contribution to a more inclusive dialogue. And that is why we decided to organize this panel, to share the experiences of AI scientists, entrepreneurs, and experts across the two sides of the continent. I have to personally thank my colleague and co-founder, Professor Filippo Fabrocini, to have volunteered to organize and now to moderate this panel. And so without further ado, I leave the scene to him. Thank you all.
This panel is among a series of panels that the World Artificial Intelligence Conference 2021 is organizing. They are virtual panels, therefore we are going to record this panel. And the topic of this panel is all about how to increase the cooperation between China and Europe in the field of AI. And therefore, the experience of each of you is particularly important. All of us are living and working, or we have been living and working in China for a long time. And by the way, we have as well a Chinese speaker among the guests of this panel. I would like to start from a close friend of mine, which is Antonino, just because both of us we come from the academic world. So let me introduce briefly Professor Antonino Marciano. So he is associate professor in the Department of Physics at Fudan University, where he's teaching quantum field theory and cosmology. And he is as well the team leader of the research group on cosmology and high energy physics within the Center for Field Theory and Particle Physics at Fudan University. In the past, Professor Marciano has been working in the Department of Physics at Dartmouth University in USA, in the Department of Physics at Princeton University in USA, and in the Department of Physics and Astronomy at Haverford College in USA. Professor Marciano is the author of more than 100 publications, including a couple with the moderator of this panel. I must introduce myself. My name is Filippo Fabrocini. I'm a professor in the College of Design and Innovation at Tongji University, and I'm the director of the Sustainable AI Lab in the college itself. Sustainable AI means building a sustainable AI and using as well AI in order to build a sustainable planet. My main areas of interest are machine learning, traditional machine learning, quantum machine learning, and ethical AI. And I'm interested as well in the relationship between AI and art. And actually, I am the founder of the Tongji University Art and AI Lab. So, my question to you is the following. It's a very simple one. What is your specific contribution to AI research in China? You know that you are working on AI since a couple of years, right? And you are working on AI from different viewpoints, because you are working on AI from a theoretical perspective. We are working together, actually. But you are working on AI as well from an applicative perspective, right? So I would like you to tell us more about this topic.
So thank you, Filippo. First of all, let's say, as you said, I'm a physicist. I'm a theoretical physicist. So my research, my expertise comes in the interface between quantum physics and gravitation. And then, I mean, I developed some tools that I applied mainly in quantum gravity and high energy physics studies. Until about 2 or 3 years ago, I started walking around Beijing with Filippo, who was mentioning me the problem of generalization in deep neural network. And immediately there was something that interested me a lot. So the possibility of trying to use some categories in physics, which is the one of symmetry. And symmetry is what allows to generate dynamics. And at the same time, use another topic which is extremely important in physics, which is the one of quantumness. So then, I mean, through the interaction, we try to build a kind of a dictionary in order to pull the concept from physics.
There is some background noise from someone, I don't know who, which is going to cover your voice. So go ahead.
So yeah, so basically, I mean, it's because of this maybe Wei, probably if you can mute yourself, Wei. It could be that, I mean, it's you're you know. So anyway, so the point, as I was saying, is that okay, thank you very much. So the point as I was saying is that when you consider this possibility, so using the symmetry, so using something which is close to language that is typical of classical physics and in general also relativity, and then quantumness. And quantumness means basically trying to sum over infinite histories. So, and the quantum machine learning paradigm that we're trying to push forward with Filippo is exactly this. So basically, instead of having a certain finite sum over the layer, we're considering infinite amount, and we are considering infinite trajectories. So, which is basically how to say infinite filters. And this is something that we can do in quantum physics very easily if we use some formalism that encodes graph. So we map data with graph, and this graph are called quantum neural network, topological quantum neural network. We also map to a paradigm, this paradigm of quantum physics, topological quantum physics, which is used also to describe a certain kind of material, which are called topological material, among which notably graphene. So we immediately saw there was a huge possibility to make a bridge between some topics, the one of, let's say, nanotechnologies, actually can be also mapped into proteins, so to protein folding. And then, I mean, it can be also used to match with the pharmaceutical industry, can be used, of course, to match with the automotive driving, can be used to match with, let's say, condensed matter and nanotechnologies. Let's say that, I mean, let's just say this, and then, I mean, it's a stop, because, I mean, there were many. But the idea is that this bridge should be eventually valuable, because these quantum algorithms that we're trying to develop, since they sum over infinite amount of filters, they allows for basically refinement and much more power than the previous algorithm. So basically, they're more precise. You're muted, Filippo.
Why did you choose to carry out this topic just here in China?
Why I decided to carry out this topic here in China? Well, I mean, to be honest, I started being interested in to analogical methods and models in the last years. Before I was just working on energy physics, so little by little I started developing my interest in condensed matter, in graphene, and artificial intelligence came just meeting you. So somehow are those things that comes in life. Now, when you meet someone, who inspire you. So you inspire me when I met you. I should have met you before.
Okay, very good. So I have the same question to Dr. Cui. So let me introduce briefly Dr. Cui. So he's the co-founder and the chief scientist of Squirrel AI Learning, the first AI-powered company specialized in intelligent adaptive education. And I want to say that this company is the market leader as concerns China. Squirrel AI in the last 5 years has established more than 4,000 learning centers in China, and it has been included in the top 20 Chinese AI unicorn companies in 2018. Dr. Cui has published over 25 academic papers in the areas of AI, agent-based modeling, complex adaptive systems, quantitative finance, and AI education, and he has been awarded among the top 30 innovators under 35 years in China from MIT Technology Review in 2018. So the question to you, Wei, is the following. What do you think is your specific research contribution as concerns AI here in China? Could you explain it to us?
Yeah. Hi, thank you, Filippo.
You are very welcome.
Yeah, our research focus on the application of artificial intelligence technologies to the area of education, especially to the area of adaptive education here in China. So in the past few years, we collect a large amount of students' data, especially the students' learning data and students' behavior data in their learning process. So this data is very specific to each student and to each knowledge component, because we can collect very specific data, including the question, how many questions the student has answered, and how much time the student spent on each question and their answers to each question, and how long the student spent on watching the online videos, the teaching videos. And also we can evaluate the students' proficiencies before and after their learning. So this data we evaluated them from the educational data mining and also learning analytic perspective. And also we implemented several academic experiments in different parts of China, in different cities in China in the past 4 years. We compare the learning effect, the learning efficacy and learning efficiencies between human teachers and also the AI tutor. The AI tutor was developed using the AI technologies and big data technologies ourselves, which can be used to provide personalized learning experience to the K-12 students in China, which covered 5 different subjects, including physics, mathematics, Chinese, English, chemistry. So our main contribution to 5 years is that we have used a lot of experience, especially the academic experience in the past 20 years, including the AI area, including the education area, and also including the adaptive education area to implement such a product which can be helpful to the Chinese K-12 students.
So basically, adaptive learning is an education technology that is able to respond to students' interactions in real time by automatically providing the students with personalized support, right? Now,
yes, we can optimize the students' learning route, learning path, and also recommend the optimal, the most suitable learning contents based on the students' learning situation.
Right. Now, when I was a student in Sussex University, so many years ago, you can imagine, 1986 to be precise. So I was studying AI, and there was a group which was applying artificial intelligence to computer-aided instruction.
Yeah.
Now, my question is the following. What changed along the time? What makes the difference today with respect to the past?
That's great. That's great. That's a great question. Yeah, there are several aspects. The first is the computing power.
Right.
The computing power, and also the availability of the computer devices. So computer devices has been available to everyone in China. Almost everyone in China. So it is, and also the network, the internet speed, which can allow us to watch the online teaching video without any delays.
But would you say that the difference is made as well by data? You can use
also
a huge amount of data. We will not.
Yes, right.
We will never be able to use such a huge amount of data. I mean, it was impossible at the time.
Yes, right. Based on the availability of computer devices and also the computing power, we can collect such amount of data of every student, and then we can analyze their behaviors. We can analyze the student's profile, and then we can better understand the student's learning situation. And using AI algorithm, we can make the optimal recommendations to them.
Right. So we have been talking with someone working in a department of physics, Professor Marciano, right? Then we have been talking with someone working in a very large company, AI company, Squirrel AI. And now I want to talk with, amazingly enough, with an artist. And he's an artist which is making use of AI in order to generate his own artworks. So let me introduce him one moment. So his name is Celyn Bricker, and he is an artist from UK. And in his work, he explores technology, our relationship to nature, and the tension between the individual and the collective, as well, as I told you before, by using AI technology. He has exhibited in many venues, including the prestigious UCCA gallery in Beijing. I want to say that UCCA is the main gallery in mainland China. And besides many other venues in Europe and in Asia, he is a visiting lecturer in the Institute of Cultural and Creative Industries at Shanghai Jiaotong University. And in the past, he has been the head of History of Art at the Central Academy of Fine Arts in Beijing. Now, my question to you, Celyn, is the following. What is AI providing to you in terms of artistic research? What makes the difference between using AI and using a more traditional tool, like, for instance, the brush? This is my question.
Thanks, Filippo, and thanks for the invitation today. Yeah, it's a great honor to be talking amongst you guys. I wouldn't expect as an artist to have such impressive company. So as to your question, yeah, AI is a tool, much like a brush, but more interestingly, it can also be a collaborator in a certain sense, or it can have unpredictable outcomes, which are interesting to explore as an artist. And so most of the work I've been working with GANs of different kinds. So it's about exploring.
Maybe we should explain. Maybe we should explain what GANs are. GANs are a kind of neural network, but better to say they are called generative adversarial networks. Basically, they are two neural networks playing against each other, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so you can use these.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, thank you. So yeah, you can use a GAN or a generative adversarial network to generate new images or new content. So in a way, I've been thinking of in a sense, the collection of the data is a little bit like the mixing of the paint. If you're keeping with the brush analogy, because once you're familiar with the kind of output that a particular GAN can produce, when you combine the data, or you curate the data basically, because you're curating in a way the experience of that machine, of that GAN. So it's by the selection of the data is like I was saying, like mixing the paint, and then you get the output, which again you can't really control, but by manipulating the input, you can have some effect on the output. So a lot of my work is exploring nature and using natural forms and seeing what these different algorithms are able to produce.
But I have a question, because I've been organizing an AI art conference recently, right? Mm-hmm. So the question is a very common question. I mean, do you still feel like the creator of your own work of art? Do you still have this feeling, or do you think that the machine is creating something? The machine is the creator of the work of art?
I'm actually interested in that tension, really, between those things. So, I mean, I've made a piece which is it's a bit long, complicated to explain it in here, but it was using a text to image algorithm. And that was definitely trying to explore the idea of the kind of autonomy of the machine, and sort of question the role of the artist in the work. Sometimes I feel much more in control of the output, and other times I feel the machine has had a greater role in terms of what is produced. But ultimately, I am the one collecting the data and putting it through the machine, or having the concept, the particular concept. So it feels more kind of collaboration, but
it's a collaboration, I would say, which is going to augment, to amplify your own skills, your own capabilities. I would say this way. Is correct?
Yes, as I guess AI is in many fields. It's this augmented effect where it's amplifying or extending the reach of a human.
All right. So let me move to another question. Thanks for your answer, Celyn. All right. So the next question is to all of you, I would say. So the question is, what are the main challenges you found along the way when carrying out either research or business here in China? And I'm speaking mainly to the Western speakers in this case. So I would like to start from, I would say, Peter. So let me introduce Peter. So Peter Westerbacher. is an entrepreneur from Helsinki in Finland, sorry. He likes to say from the finest Bay Area at the heart of Eurasia, and actually is playing with the word finest. Finest in the sense of the most attractive, the most beautiful, but finest as well in the sense that the word finest is a crisis between two words, Finland and Estonia. So Peter has been, he has an amazingly CV. He has been the co-founder and CEO of a number of brands such as HP Bazaar, Mobile Monday, Slush. I would like to mention that Slush is among the largest startup events all over the world. And he has been the co-founder and CEO of a company called Angry Birds. It's a very popular video game. I'm sure that all of us have been playing with this video game in the past years. Peter is a colleague of mine as well because he's also a adjunct professor of innovation and entrepreneurship at Tongji University. And I want to mention that Time magazine has named Peter one of the 100 most influential people on the planet in 2011. So the question to you, Peter, is the following. Again, what are the main challenges you found along the way when carrying out research or business in the AI field here in China? You hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can. And yeah, I think that there are any market. I mean, there's a lot of challenges. So you, of course, always have to start by knowing what you're doing and knowing the market where you're going. And China is no exception there. I mean, of course, there's like particular challenges in China, but that's also true. Kind of like any market you go, that they're always they have their own like particularities. But I think that yeah, I mean, start by saying that China is different, but it's also kind of like the same. So it's kind of like not that different. Again, in what you really always need to do is you need to really invest time and effort in understanding kind of like how it works and how you know, to then establish a presence in China. You need to find the right partners. You know, so again, no different from anywhere else. But I think that there are many people who just like come to China and then, oh wow, this is like huge. There's lots of people, massive markets, you know, massive opportunity. And I always say that, yeah, fine, you can visit like once a year and, you know, like make that observation. But if you are really serious about China, then you need to be there, like on the ground, work with the people. And basically, I don't live in China, but you know, in non-pandemic times, I typically visit China like twice a month. So you could say every other week I'm there. And I think that's really what it takes if you want to maintain kind of like the relationships. And I think one thing, I mean, coming from Finland and our part of the world here, you always start kind of like by trusting people. And I think then in China, it's a bit different. You need to build that trust. And that's one thing that is very, very important. And in any business, of course, technology and, you know, like everything is important, but it's always about the people. So you need to invest effort in building that trust, getting to know the people. So I think that that's, you know, no matter if you're building, doing AI, or if you're an artist, I think that it's, you know, all the same.
So basically you don't find amazing differences between working in China, carrying out business in China, or in Europe. This is your point, right?
I mean, I would say that if you're Chinese and you come to Europe, it's equally overwhelming. So I don't think that there's like, you can't get away from this, that you need to understand what's going on. I mean, it's kind of like, it's easy for us Europeans to do business in Europe, or at least in theory. But you know, because we think we know what we're doing and we know the environment. And I think that it's kind of like, again, I don't think that it's, you know, that much easier if you want to kind of like establish, you know, like a business in the US. We all think that we know how it works because we watch American TV and movies and all of that. So we're kind of like, you know, half American or something. But the thing is that you still have to take time, and you have to kind of like invest in understanding how it really works. So my point is really that yes, China is different, but so is pretty much like any country on the planet, that you shouldn't have this kind of like illusion that it's somehow easy. And I think that it's equally challenging for us going to China than or what it is for Chinese people coming to Europe. So I think that again, you have to understand what you're doing, basically.
Good, thank you so much. So let me move. I wish to ask the same question to Mr. Tomasello. So Mr. Giuseppe Tomasello is a very young tech entrepreneur based in China, and he is the founder and CEO of Edugo.ai, a company which is making use of AI in order to enhance and redefine the didactics of language schools and universities around the world. So I wish to ask the same question to you, because you are leading a startup company. I know that your company is going very well. You have been growing very fast during the last 2 years. So my question is again the same question. Do you feel any particular challenge when working here in China with respect to Europe or with respect to your own country, Italy?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Filippo, for introducing me and my company and to inviting me into the panel. I feel really honored actually to share the panel with all of you. I guess like my perspective in this panel is from like, someone who is actually starting out. I know you guys have already accomplished amazing things in business and career. And so my perspective is actually for someone actually starting a business in China and actually starting an AI company here in China, and what are the challenges. So I would like to bring this into the table and into the discussion. So according to my point of view, actually, I've been living in China for 6 years now, and I have a little bit of a global background because I've been living in the US, South America, Africa, and Middle East. So and of course Europe, because I'm Italian. And so I've been actually experiencing businesses a little bit around the world. But to come back to the question of Filippo, actually here in China, there are really special elements that you need to consider whenever you're starting a business here. So first of all, I would like to say that it's not only about AI businesses. I think actually AI is just a specific kind of technology used in a business, but there are more broader problems that you need to face whenever you start any kind of business. And actually starting with AI sometimes can be even like a bias, because you want to have a technology and then you don't understand what are the end users. I think it's always better to start with the end users and then try to come up with what are the technologies that you need to adopt in order to find a solution for the end users. Okay, so from the China perspective, I've been actually running a team of developers here in Shanghai, and I find actually like a lot of problems in having, as a foreign entrepreneur, someone is actually like running a team of developers, or Chinese developers. First of all, I have to say it's really difficult to attract talents. So I'm sure like Wei has a completely different experience being Chinese. Me being a foreigner, actually, that's a really difficult task, is to attract Chinese talents, especially AI talents, in joining a foreign startup. So that's actually the first limitation as a foreign entrepreneur to be here in China, right? And also the cost. So it's really expensive to hire Chinese AI engineers, especially from top universities, if you compare to other parts of the world. So that's a little bit what has been actually the limitation that I found whenever I want to start my business here. I have to say there are a lot of advantages as well. So I would say that the ecosystem of education technology here in China is really rich. And I would say is the best ecosystem you can find all over the world. Right now, I think here in China, you can find the most innovative companies that are doing really amazing innovation in terms of AI in education. And actually, Squirrel AI is one of those companies that I really admire, and I think that you guys are doing an amazing job. So one of the reasons why I believe it's really good to be here in China is to get inspired by all this innovation happening here. And actually what is happening right now in my company is that we are bringing a lot of this kind of like innovation and innovative thinking from China to the world. And actually what we've been doing in the past years, in the past year, especially because of COVID, is like we've been growing quite like our market in Europe and the US. And a lot of innovation that we built here in China, actually we're bringing to those other countries. So I think it actually is a really interesting case study on how actually there is the switching in the flow. Before actually innovation was coming from the world to China. Now is actually China to the world, and I'm really happy to be actually playing a part in this, in a small part. But I think that is a great opportunity for me to be in China in this period of transformation. Absolutely. So a lot of challenges, but a lot of also opportunities.
Actually, I think that China is moving from an age which I would like to label made in China to an age which I would like to label created in China. So something is happening here, and it's something really important, not only for China, but as well for the rest of the world, I would say. Now, I would like to move the same question to Professor Marciano. So we are moving from business to academic research. So what are the main challenges that you found when working here in the Chinese university? By the way, you are working in Fudan University, which is one of the top universities here in China. So I would like to tell us your own experience as a researcher, as a scholar, as a professor here in China. We don't hear you. You are muted.
Yes, right. So thank you for the question. So let's say that working here in China is for a physicist is like being in the paradise, because this is the only country. It is the only country that is seriously funding research in physics. So when I was in the United States, it was 10 years ago, in the important university for physics as well. Everyone was thinking about physics in China, how China would have been very quickly encompassing the same kind of level of US and so on, and eventually how very quickly, they should have been confronted with a new competitor that would have been much, much faster and quicker and so on. So indeed, this happened because China invested a lot. And now is the country that invests the most amount of money in research. So there is no more high energy physics in the United States. So there is no more even aerospace research. So, and there is here. So gravitational waves, just to mention the project that is the next one, the next two projects actually will be in Europe and in China. So one will be gravitational interferometers that most probably will be built in Sardinia, which is the Einstein telescope. And another one will be 3 satellites that will be orbiting in geodesic orbits, in heliocentric orbits, which is LISA. And China has 2 projects for 3 satellites orbiting around the Earth and the 3 satellites orbiting around the Sun. And each one of these projects is billion of dollars or euro. And then as the project to build a great accelerator, which is 3 times bigger by diameter than the current one, LHC in Geneva. And that will cost more or less 6 Olympic Games. So this is something that only China can do. So, and of course, it's this a huge amount of money. Then, this is everywhere in every kind of field. Okay, so like, my research is very much also into phenomenology of particle physics, and now also currently in condensed matter and artificial intelligence. And of course, it's once you have so much money, money flows everywhere. So there's also some money that can arrive now to theorists like me, also because we are all part of a process. And a lot of things, a lot of parts, industries and so on will would be developed for these big enterprises with the big challenges. Because of course, if you want to build a great hadron collider, you need also magnets of 20 Tesla. And I mean, where Tesla is not the car in this case, it's just the measurement of the magnetic field and the unit. And of course, I mean, it's you need to develop then a lot of industries in order to arrive to those magnetic fields. So, and this is a huge development, a lot of industries all around and aside. And of course, if you have to deal with data, you have to also improve your algorithms of artificial intelligence, because now, I mean, it's in order to reconstruct signature of particle, that's what we do. So this would be also a matter of business for every one of us, including also commercial business. So this is why, I mean, it's like I came here in China. It was at the onset of all of this. Now it's really booming. So it's perfect time to be here.
Good, thank you. Now, I have a question to Dr. Cui. I introduced him before, so I don't need to introduce him again. So the question is, how to say, very specific. So a number of scholars, I can mention some of them. I guess you know Judea Pearl or Luciano Floridi. A number of scholars are starting to talk about a new AI winter due on one side to the many hypes surrounding AI, but as well on the other side on the fact that neural network technology is like hitting a kind of wall, right? So I would like to know what your opinion is about this topic. Do you perceive any AI winter in the future, as some scholars are predicting?
It's good. That's a very good question. Yeah, my understanding is that from some perspective, it is AI winter, but from the other aspects, it's not AI winter from my understanding. The reason is as follows. Currently, you know that in China, it's the age of digitalization. So every industry is going to be digitalized. So everything needs to be online, and more data will be collected in every industry. And this time currently, it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning of collecting all the different kinds of data. And we know that the leading AI algorithm at this time is the deep learning. The representative is deep learning. Deep learning is using big data. So it's finding some new information from the large amount of data. So after we collect such amount of data, we can use more AI. We can be more informative from the data. So I don't think from this perspective, it's not the AI winter. Actually, it's just the beginning of the use of AI in every industry. And from the other aspects, someone says it's AI winter because currently there are some limitations of the existing AI. Also as said by Hinton, and as Judy Pearl proposed some reasoning AI, but it's not. But it has been not been largely applied in different areas. So from this perspective, there are limitations of existing AI, and also there will be new development, and also even there will be revolutions of the AI area. So from this perspective, there are some. I would say that it's the limitation of the existing AI, is not the winter of the existing AI. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
I understand very well your point of view. Yes. And I should mention as well that your company is working someone called Tom Mitchell.
Yes, yes, right. Yeah.
Which is among the fathers of machine learning, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Not wrong, the chief advisor of your company, right? Chief advisor of your company.
Yes.
So
yeah, he did a lot of contributions.
What is his opinion about this point? Did you discuss with him about this point?
Pardon, sorry.
Would like to ask you, what is Mitchell's opinion about the...
Mitchell's opinion.
Yeah.
Actually, I cannot represent him, Tom Mitchell. Yeah, but I can say that the Tom Mitchell is believing in us. Is believing in the future of adaptive education, and he believes in the application of AI in very specific area, including education and also including medicine.
Right. I had the opportunity to listen to the conference of him about what you are doing with Squirrel AI about adaptive education, right? Yes, he's very he's very enthusiastic. So now let's put the same question to Mr. Tomasello, because you're working with AI as well, and I don't know if you feel any limit about the AI technology.
Yeah. I think actually that the answer to your question is in the question itself, because like the opinion is expressed by scholars, which I think actually they are of course like amazing technical capabilities, and nothing to criticize scholars, of course. No offense to all the scholars in the panel today, but what I want to express is the fact that right now, there is a huge difference between actually the previous AI winter and actually the current stage of AI today. And the difference is the fact that the AI today is used every day by billions of people on the planet. So me as a consumer, I use AI in almost all the products that I use every day. So from translation to search to even when I order a Didi, there is machine learning models that are embedded in all the different products, as well education, of course. So I believe actually it's really difficult to enter in an AI winter at this stage, simply because AI is all over, like it's embedded in every kind of software. And I think also like the kind of line between software and AI is kind of becoming blurred every day. So I believe actually in 10 years time, probably we're not going to talk anymore about the AI software, but maybe just all the software will be AI in some sense, because there will be, these kind of models will be really pervasive in all the aspects of software. So I believe actually we got to a stage where we cross some kind of like threshold where AI is now, it's kind of like a super cycle. It's like, probably is not going to go away anytime soon. There is another perspective, which is on the technical side, and actually what kind of a system are we going to use? Is it like a winter from a deep learning perspective? And as Wei actually mentioned, I think deep learning is really difficult to enter in a winter, because it's actually the kind of like the base of deep learning is actually data and computation. And it seems like both are growing at an exponential rate, right? So they're going to feed those kind of models are going to become more powerful. But I think also that deep learning is going to hit some kind of ceiling in terms of capabilities. So I believe that also to get to the next stage of AI, what they call people AGI, artificial general intelligence, we'll need to discover other kind of models. But I think that is going to be like another discussion, like how do we go to the next stage?
I need to interrupt you, because this is the point. This is the main point. So basically, in this moment, AI is making use of just one model, one paradigm, which is deep learning. And this is from the point of view of mine, and from the point of view of the scholars that I mentioned, like Luciano Floridi or Judea Pearl. I mean, this is really worrying. We are in a situation in which we have just one technological paradigm. This is the main worry that they are trying to express. Now, I want to move the same question, but from another perspective, to to Celyn Brickster, because I want to listen to his opinion about one point. So a number of artists are using AI in order to generate their own artworks. I can mention some of them, Memo Akten, I can mention Refik Anadol, Sofia Crespo, and so on. But what you feel when you look at these works is that they all share the same artistic style. So it seems that like these artists are constrained by AI. What is your opinion, Celyn?
Well, those that you mentioned, like Memo Adkin and Sofia Crespo, yeah, there I guess there are some visual similarities because they're both also using GANs as I am, and I suppose because of this limited number of models that people tend to use, or the similar structures to the GAN model, mean that the visual output can be similar. Refik Anadol, I mean, he's combining AI and also other kinds of like fluid generated images which aren't necessarily with AI. I mean, I think it can be both things. It's in some sense it can be constraining because of the limits of the particular models that artists are using, and also, frankly, there's probably it depends on the artist. I would count myself as someone who is not, a computer scientist. I'm an artist, so I'm approaching this with there's a degree of misunderstanding, I think, or there's a limit to my understanding of how the system is working that I'm using. So this, I think, can be a limitation. But as I was saying, at the same time, it's also expanding certain possibilities that you didn't have before. But as people get used to this certain aesthetic, I think artists will have to rethink. Right now, there aren't that many AI artists, and so it's not too problematic that a lot of the work is similar in some sense. But I think that will change.
Yeah, and I think that the main point is to make use of this technology in a smart way. I mean, for the moment, most of the artists, as you said, have focused their attention on GANs, generative adversarial networks, with some exceptions. And one brilliant exception from my point of view is exactly Refik Anadol, because he's making use of big data technology in order to generate his works of art. And this makes the difference between him and other artists in the artistic scenario. This is my point of view. Okay, now I have a question to Peter. And I guess it's a $1 million question, because it's not an easy one. So I would like to know, what advice, if any advice, would you provide for enhancing the cooperation between Europe and China as concerns AI from a technical, scientific and commercial point of view? This is my question.
Yeah, very good question. Also, a big comment on like the AI winter and all of that. I mean, being here in Finland,
Please, I would like to hear your comment.
Yes. Yeah, just my perspective on that is that, I mean, here in Finland, we invented self-propagating neural networks way back in the 70s, and a bit later the self-organized neural networks.
You're not able to watch your face, so look at your face. I think you stopped the video.
Interesting. No, I have the video on. I don't know. I mean,
it's okay.
There's some technical problems, but at least my video is on.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was just saying that, like the perspective on like the AI winter and or not. So I think that we should keep in mind that kind of like AI and like the neural networks and all of this stuff wasn't invented yesterday, and we have had yeah, it depends on your perspective, but I mean we've had lots of winters, if you will, and it's with every technology or any technology that you always have ups and downs, and you get into different like phases of the hype curve. So I'm not like overly concerned about that. But then I think that what is really like key to you know, the collaboration between, for example, Europe and China. I think that of course the China sentiment is not kind of like very good right now. If you look at you know, what's happening between the US and China, I think that it doesn't really matter what administration you have in charge. I think that we're kind of like have to brace for this kind of like a bit kind of like cooler relation for like the next 50 years or whatever. So that's like what we're gonna see, and then of course Europe is kind of like in between there. But I think that you know, governments do what governments do, but it's also then it's about the people, and it's about getting stuff done. So I think that there's lots of opportunities to work together on the kind of like institutional level, so between the different universities, and of course again people to people, company to company. I think there's a lot that we can do there. Then I think also it's very important to look at the talent density, and it's something that I'm kind of like a big believer in. And if you look at for example what we achieved in games. Here in Finland, we have about 3,000 people working on games, hiring another 1,000 in next 12 months. But it's a very high density. I mean, absolute numbers doesn't really matter. But if you have a high density of talent, then you can expect to see, you know, great things coming out of the areas where you have that talent density. And of course, Silicon Valley, like great case in point since, you know, like 1939 when Bill and Dave started the whole thing in their garage in Palo Alto. But anyway, also that is kind of like a example of like taking a bit of a longer term perspective. We should always keep in mind that Silicon Valley wasn't created by Google, Apple, or Facebook, or one of these newcomers. It's been around for like a long time. And now what we see happening in China, there's also like a pretty high talent density in a few places. And of course, when you have high talent density, typically you have that around the universities. I mean, we heard Tongji, Fudan, we heard you know, all of these great universities mentioned. And when you have good talent density, then you'll see like a lot of innovation happen as well. So that's very important to focus on that. And maybe one last example of what I mean by.
Sorry, we don't hear you anymore. Hello?
But then if I look at my friends in Estonia, so part of this, okay. Yeah, maybe I'll just like, I'll let the others continue then if there's a problem hearing me. So, yeah.
Just the last sentence. Could you repeat the last sentence, please? What you were saying, the last sentence.
Yeah, I was just like about the talent density as an example there. I mean, using Estonia here in the finest Bay Area as an example, 1.3 million people, and they have created 7 unicorn companies. Okay, 7 is not 200 like in China, but then you also have to take into account that China has a 1.4 billion population. So that means that you need 7 million people to create one unicorn company, while our Estonian friends need less than 200,000. So I think that we should really look at talent density and not always the absolute numbers. So the trick here for AI or for any industry is to create an environment where you have the highest possible talent density, and then things will kind of like just happen.
Okay, very good, thank you. One question, the same question I would say from another perspective to Professor Marciano. So my question is always the same. So what advice would you provide in order to enhance the cooperation between the academic world in Europe and the academic world here in China?
So that's a very good question. So I would say that definitely there is the will among researchers to collaborate. For instance, we have the case of people in energy physics, like Professor Jago in Sapienza, or the Russians physicists that we wrote with several applications for grant proposals. So I mean, there is a huge, let's say, interest from the scientific point of view. At the same time, rulers are a little bit afraid about China, and so tend to eventually to prevent this kind of link between, let's say, in specific topics and direction of research, like artificial intelligence, for instance, or nanomaterial. Oh, and this kind of, let's say, intervention in which people try to stop, let's say, the possibility of agreements and interactions is basically going to fail, because clearly you cannot stop research, and you cannot pretend that you can save first position in the world for research just avoiding that the other one can develop. So this is a kind of a sign of the times, so to say. So I would say that, I mean, it's somehow, I mean, it's the other countries should be brave enough to understand that, I mean, you will not maintain the same supremacy in research and technology if not engaging directly in, not in a competition, but in an exchange. An exchange in which, I mean, it's everyone at the end of the day will take something out of it. So in this exchange, a lot of European companies, American companies may also grow. Just building wall is not going to drive anywhere. No, not even in science, for sure. I mean, for sure, as scientists, we don't do that. We avoid doing that.
Okay, so last question, and again, it's the same question to Dr. Cui. So what you would propose or what you would suggest in order to enhance the cooperation between Europe and China, especially as concerns business, because you are doing research. Yes, it's true, you're doing research, but it's true as well that you are a company, and as a company, you need to make business. So I would like to hear your point of view. As a Chinese, you are the only Chinese in this panel. We don't hear you because you're busy.
Okay, yeah. In my suggestions to the cooperation between Europe and China, I think, because you know that I already in the past I already lived in Europe for 8 years. Yeah, I love Europe very much. Yeah, deeply. Yeah, and I think there are lots of opportunities between Europe and China, because Europe has lots of experience in the AI research, and also experience in the economic development, and there are lots of cooperation points between them, and compared to the US, I think there are different countries in Europe, like the Finland, Germany, France, Italy, etc. So different countries have different strengths and has different cultures. Just like the Angry Bird. Angry Bird was developed in Finland, but it has been popular in anywhere in the world, especially in China. It's very popular. So I think, from many perspectives, we can learn from the Europe, and we think we can have very good cooperation between China and Europe. But I think after the pandemic, after the COVID-19, I think there will be lots of cooperations between China and Europe.
Okay, thank you very much.
Filippo, actually, I would like to answer this question as well, because I think it's really interesting. And we believe that there are a lot of opportunities to enhance the collaboration between China and Europe in the AI industry. from many different angles. So from the scientific angle and also from the commercial angle. China is becoming the world leader in artificial intelligence. So China actually set up a plan to become actually the next generation artificial intelligence development plan. It was set up by 2030 to become the world leader in artificial intelligence. On the other hand, there is a lot of research and a lot of great minds working in the AI space in Europe. So there are a lot of publications in the AI journals coming from Europe. And so those two regions in the world, I believe that they can have a lot of mutual benefit by collaboration. But there are problems. There are problems that emerge when you try actually like to have a collaboration between those two regions. And the problems I experienced myself directly from by building an AI company in China, as an Italian European building an AI company in China. And it's not easy. It's really tough. And actually, the main reason why it's difficult is because there is not a place that where I can go. There is not a network of people that can represent my interests in this country. So it's really like up to myself and up to my connections. And so it's been really tough to actually, from any kind of like commercial collaboration or also research partnership with institutions, I didn't find much support. So that's the reason why I was really motivated to co-found one association. Is called the European China Federation for Artificial Intelligence, ECF.ai. You can find actually our website, ECF.ai. And the reason why we created this association, I created actually, one of the co-founders is the host of this panel, is Filippo Fabrocini, which has a lot more experience than I do, both from the corporate world and the academic research world. So I'm really honored to be co-founding this association again. And the third co-founder is Davide Cali, which is the CEO of Expand, which is an accelerator that is in China that is helping startups to scale in China, in the Asia region. So the three of us actually, we felt this pain by working in the AI industry in China, and we know that this pain can actually be solved by having an association that is lobbying the interests of Europeans that are trying to build their business here in China. That's the reason why we found the association. I don't want to go too deep in talking about the details about the association, but if you're interested, you can go visit our website, ecf.ai, where you can find our manifesto, and we highly encourage you to take part of this association if you are like us working in the AI space here in China.
I think it was an interesting panel. Beside the accident at the very beginning, I'm sorry about this accident. I didn't realize that we were not recording. And I think that it was very interesting to put together different viewpoints from an academic point of view, from a business point of view, and even from an artistic point of view, because Celyn, Mr. Bricker, is an artist. And therefore, it was interesting to compare the different perspectives about AI, and about AI from China and from Europe, and China speaking to Europe, and Europe speaking to China. So I would like to conclude the panel this way. Again, thanking all of you, and especially wishing that the cooperation between this world here, China, it's not only a country, it's a continent in terms of population. We are talking about 1.4 billion people, and Europe on the other side is going to improve along the time, especially overcoming any kind of barrier that today we are perceiving, especially from a political point of view. This is my best wish at the conclusion of this panel, which was a friendly and intellectually stimulating panel. Thank you to everybody, and I hope that we will meet together again.